was wonderful. I took a lot of time off.
Good for you.
I think I took off.
Did you get down to your property?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. How's that coming?
Yeah, the project that we had is finished. We were redoing the barn.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's done. And the sad part of that is my son-in-law with wife and grandkids were living at the house while he did that project. And they're back in Northern California now. So
your wife's saying, "Can we find another project?"
Yeah. Yeah, I tried. Sure, she's not saying that, but I miss the grandkids. It's having Jay and the grandkids around.
I used to hear grandparents go on about their grandkids. Shut up! How much better can it be than having kids? The answer to that is a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Not different.
That's right. They go away, but it's great. In fact, my son was saying to me, "Dad, how come you get along? You never got along with Steve and I as well as you get along with the three boys." I said, "That's because we have a common enemy."
Sure. How old's your oldest grandkid?
He's on a mission. He's in the Ukraine right now.
Oh,
On it. So.
right, Romania.
No, Romania. I'm sorry. I said Ukraine, didn't I? Romania. But part of that mission is in Russian.
Yeah.
The Russian part of it. So, yeah. He's having a great time.
Really? Way to go, Grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not me. That's my son.
Commissioner, thank you as always for inviting us.
You're welcome.
Why don't we go ahead and get started? Everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and as always, we appreciate Angie's very careful review of them and making sure that they are correct. And since you all know that Angie has reviewed them, I assume that they are de facto approved. I have a motion to that effect. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. So, new and pending rules from the insurance department.
Only two minor rules right now. The first one is our 590-266-1, and it has to do with our authority. And the change removes the reference from 31A 3116, which was repealed in House Bill 336, Health Reform Amendments, and that was during the 2017 legislation. However, the insurance department still has rulemaking authority for the provisions of the rule. So just a cleanup, put into effect on 1/10 of 2018. Second one is our 590-271-1. Again, it's another authority rule to remove a reference to it being repealed in House Bill 336. Same bill. So that's all we have to offer. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much.
Future changes.
So, Commissioner, I was neglectful. I should give Erin an opportunity to introduce herself. I think this is the first time in person at one of these meetings.
Yeah.
So, Erin?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Erin Russell with United Health Group. So I work closely with Jack Kim, who you guys have probably met, and I was in some of the working groups on the Guarantee Association. So thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome.
So, Commissioner, I should report that UHIA has grown by 2 members.
2 members.
2017. So we're pleased that we're thriving and doing well.
Yes, it's the gregarious nature of the president.
Gregarious nature.
So the veracity of the
Well,
board staff is now under question.
So I'm just a little confused who it is that pays Kelly.
I'm wondering the same thing.
I do, Commissioner.
Dave is actually one of the chairs of our finance group, so he's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but the reality is they keep a very good tab on our dues and how they're spent, and we appreciate Kelly and Michael.
I'll be talking to David about the check to sign.
We would welcome that discussion. We didn't know your audit authority extended
It doesn't,
that far.
it doesn't, you know, my influence does.
So, turning to item number 4. The PBM Model Act, was this something one of us wanted to discuss, Michael?
Yeah, it was recommended for the last meeting.
So I know that Travis was previously brought this up, that, there was some talk about whether or not the department was considering that it's still working its way through the development committee, or if it's going to adopt the model bill, but the PDM Act.
The pharmacy benefit manager. It's been adopted through the NEIC.
Okay.
Utah currently doesn't have any language in its code, nor did we adopt the previous version. So I don't know if there's, I personally don't know that we have the need in Utah for it. So
Not advocating one way or the other.
I haven't looked at it that closely, but it's not anything that we've regulated closely, but we also don't have complaints at this point that we would need to say, okay, we really need to take a stronger look at this and consider discussions at the legislative level if do we need to move something forward. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Excuse me, let me just check. Do we have somebody on the phone?
Yes, it's Candy Gallagher from AHIP on the phone. Good afternoon,
And
everyone.
Sunshine Mark, hi.
Good morning.
Welcome to you both.
Thank you. I did want to note, excuse me, if it's all right to speak at this moment.
Yes.
Thank you. The model, the revised model, is substantially approved or adopted at the NEIC. However, it still has one final vote to collect to be considered final adoption. The model is now to be on the agenda for the executive and plenary for adoption at this time, it seems, the spring national meeting. As part of the process, we are not hearing any controversy or any other recommended changes. So I think it is fairly safe to consider it de facto, or as some have said who worked long and hard on the subgroup, please, this is done. We have gone over it for 2.5 years, which we did line by line. I think the important point that is very relevant to the prior speaker is no state adopted the original model in its entirety in any state. And I was around the NEIC as, again, with industry as an insurer in 2000 when we began the work on it. And there was a lot of discussion, and it was more viewed at that point by the various committees as a way of understanding what some of this insured business looked like, and understanding how managed care plans worked in conjunction with the third-party administrators at that time, the PBMs. And it has always held up as a good model to identify how that process works. But it was not prescriptive in how carriers and PBMs did that, the process of the payments, the formularies, what you covered, but more as the framework. The work at the NEIC on the model took a stab at filling in that framework and used as its model the activity at the federal government on the ACA and some of the additional requirements they put in place in the individual and small group coverage for QHPs through exchanges. That had a lot more detail, and the discussion often was, how much of this detail do we really need to put in here, and how important is it that it be a part of this model, or should it be left to the states, because the states have taken their own approaches on how strictly they add to code or to their legislative language on any of this. that I'm offering as putting this into that context or the framework of why we are going to see this model used in bits and pieces, more so in states than in its entirety, because most states have either acted previously in the early 2000s time frame to what you would call kind of straighten up their managed care regs overall, and this became just a part of it. I'll use another state example. Connecticut is looking at the update to their current regulations on group health, drug formulary, and rate review. So it's all part of the existing code, and they have taken 3 different areas or provisions of this model and added some of that language to their existing code it's proposed. And I think that might be the way that we see most of the states take this on going forward. So I'll stop there, and if there are questions, happy to talk to them. But this was reviewed very carefully, and I think more than anything, it carried through a lot of the refrains that other issues have had, and that is, how does the consumer know? Where does the consumer find information? What if they have drug tiering? What's that mean? How's it defined? Where do they find that information? And they wanted to be far more aggressive on lists of formulary items and how consumers could get information on what tier is my drug on, if there are tiering, or what do I do if there is a change to my drug, and what appeal process do I have? Pretty straight up stuff, but there's a lot of language about it now. So I really am stopping now.
Thank you so very much. Steve, any follow-up?
No, thank you very much.
So this is, oh, go ahead, Angie.
So, Candy, this is Tangi.
Oh, hi, Angie.
Hi. Is AHIP advocating states to adopt this model?
We are not.
Okay.
It would be a huge overlay over so much other existing state reviews in ways that I think is destructive for states as well.
I think your initial read of how Utah's history with this, Tangi, was correct and would be in line with how our positioning would be as well.
All right, thank you.
So thank you very much. Before we go on to number 5, I just thought it would be appropriate to not allow Steve to sit on the back row. Steve will be sitting in this chair starting in April, and during the legislative session, he's our legislative chair, so he will be front and center working with the insurance department throughout the session, and we really appreciate Steve's contributions to Ohio now and in the future.
My condolences.
Hey, at least we know who to call, who to buy.
All right. The ever-present Guarantee Association topic. I'm sure that we've all seen the many emails going back and forth from the interested parties and the comments back to the work group. So additional items we'd like to talk about this morning, anything from the insurance department that we can be supportive on in this regard?
So we do have a few comments that I still need to pass on to the representative. Not significant, and I have not heard any feedback from Representative Dunnigan at this point. So my last communication, was at the draft, and same thing that everyone else here around this table, I'm sure, has seen.
So that draft is the 75-25 basically, is it not?
It is.
We've talked about that as a board. We know that we don't have consensus among Ohio with regard to whether that's an approved approach or not. So we will undoubtedly be a little less effective than we try to be normally because we won't have consensus among our groups. Is that fair to say, Gil? You articulated it well.
So a question on that. Will you support Will you speak to the bill at all apart from the 75-25 rule, or is it your intention, as you hide it, to be silent to the bill altogether?
So my belief is, and please correct me if I misspeak, is that we do have consensus that bringing health insurance into the Guarantee Association is a good thing. So we would certainly be prepared to speak in favor of that. How, whether it's 50-50, 75-25 is where the split begins. Is that fair?
Thank you. That's helpful.
Is that responsive?
Yes, thank you.
So we favor the HMO coming in. The other question I have, is your bill numbered yet?
Yes, I think it's
39.
39.
The other day I looked and it wasn't there.
It should be on our website also. We've started loading bills, leading into next subject.
Please, perfect segue.
Can I just, sorry, I think ACLI, I believe ACLI, the Life Insurance Association, will oppose the bill.
They have opposed.
Yeah, because of the 75-25 split. And I know there's the Utah Life Convention, which is a Utah life insurers. I believe will take the same position.
Hey, sorry, before we move on to anything else on the Guarantee Association. Look forward to many fun meetings and many fun discussions in the next 45 days.
John, on your, just because you wear many hats, do you think the opposition with the Life Convention, ACLI, is solely due to the 75-25 split?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you all know, the NAIC model is a 50-50 split. And ACL, my understanding, there's another person who's a lobbyist for ACLI in Utah, but so take this for what it is. But my understanding is ACLI would support the, the NAIC model.
Okay.
Do they have, by chance, on the 5.5-year delay for HMOs?
That may be as well, Steve. You may be right about that. I'd forgotten about that.
However, I think Ted Lewis at the last meeting made it pretty clear that if it went to 25 to 75, they were going to oppose early on. I think he made that pretty clear.
I would agree.
I'm sure that the 5.5 years doesn't make them any happier either, but.
And it's fair to say that's not mild opposition, that's fall on your sword kind of opposition.
Yeah, I think from my just my offline conversations, not confidential with Ted, was they felt like they really made an effort to move it 50%. Now they feel a little bit betrayed that it moved from there. They think that they came to the table in good faith and said, hey, we'll do this because that hasn't traditionally been the split. They think they've given from their perspective. That's what I think they think that where they've been. I think they feel like we've compromised, and now that we've compromised, it's even going further.
So I think our ask as UHIA would be that if we ever are perceived at getting at cross purposes with the insurance department and what you feel is best for the market, to make sure and communicate that to Steve or Kelly so that we can reevaluate our position and make sure that we're doing it intentionally rather than unintentionally.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So moving on to our ever-present next Monday.
Has been discussed, parking will get significantly different. We don't think there's anything controversial in our bill, but we hope all of you will certainly be taking a look at it. And we'd like to know if there are problems up front before we get down the road too far into it. I'm not sure what else we're expecting to be put in the bill between now and the time it gets passed. I suspect we will see a change or two, but I'm not sure that we're, asking for much more than what we have in the bill right now. There are a couple of things that we've discussed about putting in, but we're not looking to put anything very controversial into it. As Tangi says, we have, I'll let her go through some of them if she wants to go by bill, but we've been asked by the governor's office to support or oppose, some strings of bills, and the only one that I think we've taken a position of opposing has been Representative Paul Ray has brought out a bill on credit scoring, and I don't know that affects life and health. Might affect life insurance. They do credit scoring on life insurance, John,
I'm sorry.
Credit scoring on life insurance, is that used as a...
Some might. I don't know. It happens.
I know with, with the automobile and homeowners, I know that it's used very heavily. But aside from that, I think we've been pretty neutral on, besides our department bill. My recollection was the only other bill that we took a position on was to oppose the elimination of credit scoring is what basically was doing. There are others you wanted to bring up?
So the pharmacy importation bill has been numbered, and I don't remember what that number is exactly, from Representative Thurston.
Yeah, it's
Thank you. So the department did need to fiscal note that bill because as it applies to health insurance, we would need to audit your pharmacy charges and for those players who choose to participate in the program. And there is a component of auditing through commerce with the pharmacies. The program itself lays within the health department, and I know from all three of the departments, commerce, health, and insurance, there is a concern on having the expertise of being able to manage an importation program. We're not opposing the bill. My recommendation to the commissioner would be a neutral position, but we will be watching it closely, and you might want to make sure you take a look at it because there's some pretty hefty audit requirements in that bill, and not only for us but also for you. And so, you might want to have discussions with Representative Thurston on how you think you can make this program doable, because I think it has the potential of bringing some great benefits to the state.
He's asked us, he sent us an advanced copy of the bill and asked us to give him input on it. So we're meeting directly after this meeting.
Okay.
We'll discuss that a little bit. Are you at liberty to give us the fiscal note you placed on?
That's something we can share. So once we added up all the different duties, it had a fiscal note of $66,000 ongoing. So the largest component is a market conduct examiner to perform those audits.
That's just
Yes.
fees,
That would all come out of health. So the health fiscal note is going to be the large fiscal note on that. And Commerce did not submit a fiscal note on it. Our property casualty director, Tracy Klossmeyer, did want to make sure I pointed it out to Representative Thurston that the Labor Commission may also want to take a look at this because it does affect health insurers plus work comp insurers or those medical costs that they have.
So any commercial insurer can take advantage of this? I thought when I first heard about this, I was under the impression it was going to be like PHP or B or
how it started.
So PHP, then they pulled Medicaid into it, which Department of Health also has concerns with the Medicaid component because they already get drug rebates. And they're concerned that it might, their drug rebates might be a better benefit than even what they can do the importation program through. It also makes it available to self-funded employers, in addition to our commercial insurers. So.
Treat it as being voluntary. There are places where it says a participating insurer.
So the reporting component has a required component, and I thought that might be valuable, at least for the department, to know which insurers are participating, but the audit program is specific to only participating insurers. So the bill really isn't that clear, nor does it speak to the frequency of what those audits may be, and so I did an assumption of an annual audit. But I think that one and Guarantee Association is the most exciting in my world. So.
Yeah, we've already talked about the autism sunset repeal, and that should be relatively inconsequential unless someone decides to try to tinker with it and add something to it.
You know, where we are on the autism bill, we spoke at the interim committee on it, said that we were in agreement as long as it's intact the way it is. And so now that we've lost Senator Shiazawa, I've got to circle back and make sure that Representative Ray and Senator Bramble are going to honor that deal. We would be concerned if they remove the trigger, and we would be concerned if they try to take out the small group exemption. So that's kind of where we are in the legislation.
One more I thought of that I received yesterday is Senator Main's bill regarding the payment for health insurance claims when there is a work comp claim that is being appealed. And so that bill is removing that July 1, 2018 date and making the program permanent.
Right. We've had meetings with Senator Main on that legislation. We've also talked to other legislators about it. The interesting thing about that legislation, and Steve, you feel free to jump in because you were the driving force in that meeting with the primary workers' compensation carrier, state workers' compensation fund. They're saying, we work this out with the insurance companies. We don't even need the legislation. But Senator Main really is invested in the legislation, and she really wants it. So that's where we are on the legislation. She really wants it. I don't think the workers' compensation fund, because she sits on their board, will say, I don't know if they'll be as frank.
Yeah. PHP had talked to them. They have a fiscal notice on it if it hasn't already about
We just think it's bad public policy. From our standpoint, it's really bad public policy, not so much for the workers' compensation fund. We're not claiming that they're engaging in this. But I can't think of a public policy, I've said this many times, I can't think of a public policy where government has created an incentive for one industry to deny claims so they can shift the responsibility to another industry. So given the legislation, why wouldn't you deny all claims, challenge all claims, and just shift the responsibility over and then let the litigation take place and see where it falls out? So we've met with the Labor Commission on this, we've met with Senator Main on this, we've met with the largest workers' compensation fund on this. We just think it's bad public policy, and we think that it should go away. But again, Senator Main is extremely invested in this, and she has, for a member of the minority party, she has quite a bit of influence in the Senate. She's well liked and deservingly so, I think, because she works well. She plays well in the sandbox. So, we'll see what happens. But a $90,000 fiscal note, Steve, helps.
Has anybody done any research on, the number of, them? I mean, has it changed since this bill?
Well, PHP was pretty outspoken on this. I think that's why the fiscal note's going on it. I think they're seeing that by the bad actors.
So nobody's done any research from the Labor Commission's data?
Well, the problem with the Labor Commission data is that sometimes there are settlements that are reached when an insurance company doesn't know. So like the appeal, if it's, we can't always participate in those proceedings. So there will be a private settlement reached between a worker comp carrier and the injured worker. It will settle on like a disability claim, but then they'll be silent on the health claim, and the Labor Commission will accept that as a final order. And so we, because it's silent, have paid, and then it's a final order, so we have no mechanism to appeal. And I don't know if the Labor Commission has looked in, I don't know if they've done a review of order accepted to find out how often that happens. But we do get a few of those every year.
Thank you.
Any other legislative items?
Yeah, I'll ask of you, maybe you guys have a sense, I don't know the legislative pool that well. Has Senator Shizawa been replaced?
Ryan Bender, who is a physician, and what I think that poorly named, just my opinion, Exodus Healthcare. So he's a family dog. So, yeah.
Is he an OBGYN? Because maybe that's the case.
I want that in the minutes,
Yeah.
Michael.
Why Dave wins the caption on Sunday.
Yeah, he's been, and then.
Do you have much of an insurance background, as a doc, I guess?
I haven't had a chance to get to know him, but, so, you know, it's another, I know maybe that's, Conwood Heights is the physician seat, because, you have, Kathy Allen who's running for that in the fall. But, yeah.
So, and Dean Sanpay's replacement?
It's a financial, I thought it was gonna be that Leo Lyons, but he lost his, financial advisor guy.
So he's a securities, licensee, is that what his work is? You don't know?
I think, yeah, I'm not sure if it's like some kind of finance thing.
So
Some numbers.
he'll be,
I'm an attorney.
he'll be working for Zions Bank next week, is that what I mean?
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else on the legislative issues from UID? Any members have any legislative issues you wanted to raise that we haven't already covered? It's probably worth mentioning, there is some discussion about a Medicaid expansion if they can get a work requirement, as well as some cap on the state's exposure. I know those discussions are ongoing. It'd be interesting to see if they actually come to fruition. I don't know whether Gene Davis's bill would be the vehicle, but it is a complete Medicaid expansion within the existing parameters of whatever match rate is available for whatever extensive period of time.
I just heard, I think Kentucky initiated a work requirement.
You know, gave permission for that.
And that's how we all knew the work requirement was coming, because they approved that Kentucky waiver. They've indicated they'll do the same for any state that applies.
And Gene's bill was tweaked this year from the way it's traditionally been tweaked, saying that if the federal money goes away, it goes away. And so that's how he tweaked it this year. It was kind of an interesting little twist. It's right in the legislation.
Will CMS approve that?
I don't know whether they'll approve it or not, but I think
There are similar triggers in some other states.
yeah. So it was kind of an interesting change from his previous legislation. I just want to thank you, Commissioner. Brett sent over the kind of the talking points on your bill, and I've distributed that. If you haven't got a copy of that, and you want Michael to redistribute it, we'll redistribute it. Okay. So, but it was a nice little talking point on your legislation. It's not the full
Line by line.
legislation,
Yeah.
but
That one hasn't been completed yet.
yeah. So, but we really appreciate the advanced copy of it.
So anything on the health of the 2018 individual insurance market that you'd like to share with us? Did enrollment stay strong in Utah like it did throughout the country? Information you can share there?
So the initial numbers we got from CMS as far as the plan selection, our enrollment stayed strong. Now, how many people actually pay the premium and effectuate coverage is always interesting. So we will be having Dr. Holly send out a survey that we've done since 2014, asking for enrollment as of January 1. And I think that will give us a better idea of what the individual market looks like. I know Jake's doing some work on it. So.
Yeah, and we don't, the individual market, because we had the CSRs go away, some people were probably going to move from an on-exchange plan to an off-exchange plan, so we don't get the enrollment numbers from the CMS's enrollment reports to know how the off-exchange happened.
What would you attribute that to? Why would they move off the exchange?
If you were on a silver plan and for on the individual market, if you're in the silver plan individual market and you weren't getting a CSR or a premium tax credit, but you still wanted to have a silver level plan, then the differential between the on-exchange silver level plans and the off-exchange silver level plans is about 20%.
I thought they had to be the same, no?
No.
They use
For the same plan.
If the
For the
plan is
same
offered
plan.
on the exchange, it has to
Oh,
be offered
gotcha,
off.
gotcha.
Yeah, but
Not the opposite.
But if you have a carrier that's exclusively off
Right,
exchange,
right.
they didn't have to worry about CSR
Okay.
funding, so they could have a lower premium. So we had to allow some others that were on exchange to have some plans offered off exchange.
I just
So that's why some may do that. We don't know the extent of that sort of shift.
So anecdotally, I understand that Select Health picked up about 80% of the lives that Molina left when we left the on-exchange market. And Molina has zero enrollment on its off-exchange product.
Well, they're becoming quite the force in the state, aren't they?
With regard to the individual market, I would agree with that, Dave. Any rumors that we're leaving Utah, although those are pervasive, are absolutely false. If you can help us curtail those if they ever come to you, we'd appreciate it.
Do you want to talk about the age curve?
Sure. For 2019, we're looking at redoing the age curve. Utah has its own age curve right now that we've been using. It was based on small and large group data prior to the 2014 ACA stuff coming into play. So we thought we'd use some ACA type data and see if it would be more relevant to the age curve that we actually have on the individual and small group markets. I've requested data from the top 3 insurers in the individual and small group market for 2016 because 2017 is not complete. 2015 had we had arches. We don't want to have that muddling, so we just have asked for 2016 data only. The information should be in-house by the 25th of this month. Sometime during that week, I will be analyzing it, looking at the age curves. We'll see if we want to do a separate age curve for individual versus small group. That is allowed. We don't know if there will be enough difference between the two markets to justify having separate age curves. And then before making the decision to switch to to a new age curve, we'll do a presentation or have some sort of report that goes out and people can look over it. If you have any questions or concerns about what we might be doing, please give me a call.
Just a shout out to Jake and his work on this and risk adjustment. This continues to be stellar. We really appreciate all of his careful attention to that.
And on one note on the risk adjustment, so we had the interim report that came out. Some of the carriers did not get their report, and we have talked to CMS, and they said that was sort of a system-wide issue that the command didn't go out to some of the carriers, and they don't know why, so they're still trying to fix that. I may not have the interim report risk adjustment information back to the carriers as soon as I had planned, which was, I think, by Monday of next week, maybe a little later.
Let me turn to the phone. Is there anything else that anyone on the phone would like to raise? Hearing nothing, if you were on mute, make sure you unmute fairly quickly. Anything from UID that you wanted to cover that we have not yet covered? Membership of UHIA? And as always, we look forward to seeing you often in the next 6 weeks. Hopefully in pleasant circumstances to the extent
Be at
that
the
that's
same
possible.
committee hearing meetings. I'm
Yep.
sure. I will bring my cushion with me.
Thanks, Ken. Adjourned.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the members of UHIA, I think we're staying in the same room for a brief board meeting. I hope that's with the insurance department's permission. You're welcome to stay on the phone if you'd like to participate in that meeting.
Would it be helpful, I don't think we have a meeting scheduled after today, but I know future meetings we don't. Would it be helpful for you, Ohio, if we scheduled this out another half hour for you? Is that something you want?
So that we could have our meetings after?
No, because we don't meet till after the session now.
We meet, our next meeting is scheduled for March 28th. The agenda is wrong, because that's a Tuesday. So it's March 28th on a Wednesday, is that correct, Angie?
I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Okay.
And I think, Angie, this is really a one-off where we're asking to extend. I don't think it's the first time in my experience we've ever done it. I don't know if we have any plans to repeat it. So I think Angie was saying, would we like to have this opportunity to meet separately? And I think the general consensus would not be a need. Thank you for the offer, though.
All right, thank you.
And it's already scheduled for you for the next hour, so there you go.
Great. Thank you.
Should we do a little bit?
Thanks, Frank.
I think we're back by the 20th.
I did.
Write a check for this, and then I will mail it. That's our fee for the education conference.
Okay. And good. I'd like to get that paid.
Michael? You and me both, so we don't pay late fees. Michael, have you talked to Jill about scheduling out the future UHI meetings? We haven't yet. Okay, so the 28th is not on our calendar. Oh, okay. So will you get with her on those? I'll send her an email. Okay, thanks. Awesome. Yeah, I usually do it in January.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for your email.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for misspelling your name.
I was
Okay.
offended.
Let's
So offended.
It's not, I was like, ah, dang it.
Maybe that means I have, a space that Northrop,
Yeah,
thought of money.
you fly here on a jet.
Did you get an agenda?
Thank you, so now I have to say, Steve, I am related,
Okay.
and I need my.
Apologies to you, UHIA, when I do what I'm going to do.
Are you leaving? Okay.
Right here.
Good to see you.
Right here.
I like the first one.
Are we meeting on Friday too, or no?
What?
Are we meeting on Friday? Are we having our monthly
Here
meeting
and
Friday?
No. This
is
replaces
Lou,
that, and
okay.
then we start.
Worry about you.
Okay, there you are.
Need extra copies, I've got one I brought with me.
And I've got an extra copy.
Where'd David go? Oh. Did I give you that?
Yeah, I thought I handed it to you.
I have to send a copy of this back.
Yeah, okay. No, Oh, they have it. You don't have it.
I don't have one of those. No.
Yeah, okay, who doesn't have an agenda? Okay, everybody has an agenda. Who doesn't have a tracking one?
Okay, call us to order their minutes. I'll take a minute to review them quickly. Steve Foxley owns the review of those. Was there anything difficult in your review of the minutes?
No, they looked fine. I can make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved unanimously. Do we have anyone who stayed with us on the phone?
Oh, this is Sunshine. I'm still here.
Thank you, Sunshine. Appreciate you staying with us. Did you have a chance to review the minutes? I'm not sure if Sunshine is technically a member of TUI.
She's not, so she's not a voting member. But
She's a valued
valued
participant. Yes.
participant.
More value than I could begin to say. So we just approved the minutes, Dave, if you have any concerns.
No, sir.
Committee reports, Tina, on compliance committee.
Nothing new. Told us about the two bills that are out there. Upcoming, APA filings and whatnot, although that information's not out there as far as deadlines and stuff yet. You there?
Thank you very much for that report, Tina. So typically, I go over the action items. We did talk about the Prescription Drug Model Act in our meeting. Anything to follow up on that? And we've got a survey that we're gonna send out to agents to try to improve the target of our education conference.
I haven't sent it out yet. I'm still working on it, but yes. So we can see whether or not, the fees that we're charging are an impediment, whether the time we're holding it is an impediment. We'll try to get feedback on all that.
So Dave, on this item, I believe the last time we met, you weren't able to join us, and you were the one who raised some of the most significant concerns about an early bird pricing. And I think you were correct that it ended up reducing revenue rather than increasing attendance, which would have offset that reduction. Any additional comments you'd like to make going forward with regard to how we approach this next year?
I looked at the number, it looks to me like we were close to $2,000 off, based on 2,300 that we, collected in enrollment dues or in non-dues, but I mean in enrollment, fees. Live and learn, I guess, next year. I don't think that our audience has been agents really ever. I think it's been us, our insurance companies, our employees. It's so easy to get CE now, just online, that I don't think it's gonna really matter when we do it or how much we charge. We're gonna have, most of our paying attendees are going to be our employees. So, do we wanna stick our member companies for a little bit more, to help our organization, or do we wanna cut ourselves a deal? And I think I would suggest we go back to the model we had before. Maybe a little bit of an early bird pricing, but.
So Steve, I think we learned our lesson, and we'll make sure that it's a board decision rather than just the president making a unilateral decision. So we appreciate you being aware of that going forward. The only addition I'd make to Dave's comments is once people understand the quality of the presentation by Sunshine, that's gonna bring in any number of people. I say that only to compliment you, Sunshine. I've just heard unanimous, good things about your presentation, so we really do appreciate your support these past 2 years.
That is absolutely true, but sadly, it was offset by Norm Thurston's presentation this year.
And Dr. Red.
And I don't care if it's in the minutes. Yeah, it was bad.
I just have to say a couple of things. One, we've got there's additional funding coming in, about $400, because Equitable's check is registered in January and not in December.
Oh, but it's been paid.
It's been paid.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody's been paid. So, and then Doug is taking far too much of the responsibility of the downturn. That was a strong recommendation by me to see if we could drive up numbers, especially given the fact that we sent out that we had a list, a fresh list from the commissioner, and we sent out over, how many? 10,000 emails. And we did that multiple times to agents, every registered agent, because the commissioner gave us the entire list of every registered agent. So
I'm still curious to see if we don't do it in the middle of enrollment, if that affects it at all. It may not. Dave might be right, and it won't matter what. I mean, they get a lot of free. There's sponsors for them where they get free ones, and there's online that are more convenient. But I still wonder if we maybe try it. It's great information they're not going to get everywhere. So, I mean, for the most part, I think we do something that's pretty unique and gives them some opportunities they're not going to get everywhere else. So,
I talked to some of the agents after, excuse me, Michael.
We did get several, 3 or 4 attorneys who came because we offered the CLE.
Thank you, John.
To the state bar,
Yeah, that was.
health section.
certainly the health law.
Did I submit for that? Yeah.
You have to, I don't know.
I have to submit it, or?
No,
Okay.
actually, usually we have to submit it, and I submitted it on my own this year.
But Michael got it, right?
But yeah,
But if
I
you
learned
get
later
approved-
She got, it's a.
Okay, so I can just, I'll follow up with who is it, Christy at the bar or whatever? Okay.
If we can get that in place sooner, we might be able to get more.
Attorneys.
I do, yeah, there aren't a ton of health law CLEs.
2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
after the conference is over.
And that's a pretty good deal for CLE. It's cheaper than a lot of. There's a health law section of the bar, right? And that's
Yeah.
who we asked that it be distributed to.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4.
But it was sort of late, but
It was sort of late, because it didn't.
By
get
the time-
approved until after the conference was over. If it was pre-approved, then there might be a whole bunch of
Maybe,
people
maybe.
who go, oh, it's already approved, I'll be there. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think when we advertised it, we said, this isn't yet approved, but we're expecting it's gonna be approved.
that's kind of what
Those
we
who
said.
were getting, did we?
I think so. Because the email went from the chair of that health law section. It should have gone to everyone in the health law
They
section.
distribute it.
I
They-
mean,
they-
I have control over the
Yeah.
technology. I'm not a typical attorney potentially, but I never considered that a question of if it would only be approved, but just when it's approved.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's almost always
I don't think it
when.
would really have
They've
been a
never
big
not
factor.
approved it for me.
right. I mean, the conference agenda itself being approved.
Getting it on people's agendas 2 months in advance, knowing they can count on it, I think would be very beneficial if we could.
Yeah, I mean, I do it because I help with, I do the lobbying for the bar, and so I can help get that on the CLE calendar earlier.
And that's the thing, they only meet every 4 to 6 weeks,
Is it Ryan?
and they didn't
Yeah.
meet,
Or did she used to do it?
but
They've got a new person because we did one for with the Office of Legislative Research last week, and it took them like, I don't remember her name, but it's a new person who's doing the CLE calendar.
Yeah, but with 50, I mean, if we go back to $75 or $80, I think most attorneys for 3 hours. Be like, oh, yeah.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
Sunshine, I just want to reiterate what Doug said, because I think he's right on. I had a number of people share with us how great they thought your presentation that you gave was. It's posted online, and I know that because I don't think I've had as many requests for a presentation as your presentation in past educational conferences. Those who attended saying, could you send me that presentation? I tell them it's online and give them the password, but they just can't access it. They have to go in and get the password. They have to have attended the conference. So well done. Really appreciate the work you did there.
Thanks so much. You guys are so kind. I love that conference and was happy to participate.
So Ryan, do we expect to have the newer facility available by this time next year?
Yeah, chop chop.
100% on that, but I think so.
I think they will. In fact, as Steve said to me, Steve Morrison, MIA CEO, said, next year you'll have this in our new facility. And it's a big facility.
Should be able to accommodate.
Well, it's a lot bigger facility. I guess the auditorium is bigger. But we might not want to go into that facility. It looks like no one's there. We'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, we definitely want to fill whatever venue we're in, but it looks like we have 1 million.
So we'll have that as an option,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, and we can probably contact UEA.
Yeah, we could. if we had to, yeah.
We have an option in our building as
Oh,
well.
that's great.
As if it's
Yeah.
not done, we have a auditorium.
Super.
Where are you, Steve?
Cottonwood Heights, in that Cottonwood Corporate Center.
Yeah, and then we can go to lunch over at Market Street.
We're across the
Yeah.
street.
Huh?
Do you think the beginning of the year would be better? I mean, as far as CE credit, do you think a lot of people already have their CE credit by November, December?
No.
And it's, no.
Yeah, no, that's.
Attorneys
We're
report in
scrambling to
June.
get
Yeah, I was gonna say,
deadline
what-
here.
Yeah, for us, June.
June,
Like
attorneys
Oh, re-
report in June.
So you report in June, but it's a calendar year when you complete the, isn't it? Or-
I don't know how the
think so.
CE one works.
I don't think
It's
so.
a 2-year. Switched a couple years ago, and now it's the same with the bar membership.
Okay.
So it used to be on a calendar for the CLE, and your bar membership was different. But
Oh,
now
so it's a fiscal sort of reporting. It's a
Right.
July 1 to June 30?
Yeah, for 2 years.
yeah. So later in the year would probably, and we discussed maybe starting doing something after the session too, to kind of do a review of that. I know there's.
That would be an easy hour of presentation.
Right.
I mean, that's something.
We could do a health law
By
focus.
doing one
You
for
and
the whole
Kelly and-
bar, but I mean, we could easily do a health law one.
Yeah.
Easily.
And, Mark Brinton is with the Medical Association.
Huh?
He's the legislative chair for the health law section. I mean, he would be if we wanted to make a panel.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's something, if you want to try it in March or April, I think we're game for that.
We can try it.
That's something we can start to work on right now, and,
Thinking 2019 or trying to do one in 2018?
2018. I'm saying
make up
we're
some
gonna
shortfall.
have a 2018 one anyway, through Steve's year, 2018, 2019. Well, if you did March, it would still be during Steve's year, right? Yeah, just know that we did, you mean Doug's year? No, if you waited till 2019 March. Oh, yeah. It would still be during.
No,
But
what if
we had
we
two
did-
this
what if we
last
did one in
year.
2
We had
months?
one in
Bring up 2
December,
months.
and then we had one in January, two in the same calendar year. So the fiscal year for Ohio. January? No. No, it was in 2 different fiscal years, but it was, we held one in January of 2018, and then we held one in December of 2018.
So really doing one late April, early May would still be timely because the bill signing is mid-May. That's when people are really thinking about it. My calendar personally is so booked through the end of March because I put off everything during the legislative session. Takes me nearly a month to catch up after that, so.
Sure
From my perspective, I think it'd be smarter to do late April, early May if you tried to do one in 2018.
Are we gonna do a CEO luncheon?
Well, depending on, I'm always open for the CEO luncheon. I'm always looking for somebody to come in, but to draw the CEOs, we always want somebody meaningful, somebody that's an actual
All right,
draw.
Kelly, I'll do it.
But then,
Yeah, stand up
you
there.
answered the question with
No.
something, Dave. So if you got somebody
There you
that you
go.
really,
Club
really,
throwing.
I mean, the last CEO luncheon we had, the governor came in, and I thought it was great. No, excuse me, Speaker came in. Prior to that, we had the governor, so, you let me know.
Well, it's budgeted. That's why.
We always budget, we haven't always held it, so.
I assumed we were
So-
going to hold it.
Yeah, and if you've got somebody that you think we ought to go after, that will draw in the CEOs, I'm very happy to do that.
Well, we've had the president of the Senate as well, 3 years ago.
Right. Senator Niederhauser. And who
Hey,
gave a
Norm
great,
Thirstreezer.
yeah, we could do it.
We want to
video.
see it.
I want to talk about the DUI law.
I'm getting it wrong.
I'm going to a convention next
Or
month
not
in
just
Vegas.
glasses.
Keynote.
Romney might, if he's campaigning, he might want to get out there.
Spencer Cox would be an interesting invite.
He's a
Great
good
speaker.
speaker, really good.
If you'd like, there's,
I think we should do a CEO luncheon.
okay,
I think we ought to figure out, I mean, for my
He would
money,
be a
Spencer
great
Cox.
speaker.
okay, that's great. I'll put that invitation out immediately to him, and when would you like to do that? Doug, you want to do that in your year?
We don't, I just be
We used to do the conference in kind of fall, late
Last
fall,
year, was
and,
it January?
and we,
I think it was during the.
one year we did it even
It was right
in the
before-
summer,
it was
right?
right before
I think
the
our
trip.
last one we did in the summer, didn't we?
How
Here's one I feel
we've
like-
always done it in the past is we've decided on who the speaker is going to be, and then we've asked them,
What's the day?
when is a day that you could facilitate this?
And I think that's what we do for, sometime after the session.
Okay, that's great. I'll jump right on that. That's a great suggestion.
I'm not sure HSA health plans, I don't have anything to report on health savings accounts, any.
No, but that reminds me,
That's the name of the new company.
are they joined? Oh,
No.
okay, that's what I was just gonna
No.
say. I was gonna say, that reminds me of that. You know, Needleman, what's his name? Needleman. Health Equity. They apparently have an insurance company, and I was talking,
It's
they left.
Dave Hall left Health Equity and started a company called
Okay.
HSA.
but it is a health insurance company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're competing, I mean,
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he was one of the founders of Health Equity, and he left
Okay.
probably 5 years ago, 4 or 5, and started. So, and when they started, I actually invited them, and they weren't interested at the time. That doesn't mean that it's not worth.
Well, if nothing else, maybe invite them to a meeting, or part of a meeting
Yeah.
before. But I learned about them over the holidays, and was surprised to see that they were actually a licensed health insurance company in Utah.
they were on the shop exchange.
Were they really?
Yeah, they were on Avenue H.
Do you have contact
You
information?
know, I thought they were
Did you
just
send
on
that?
there as an HSA administrator. I didn't realize they
No,
were on
yeah,
there.
their
I'll
HSA
check
health
it. I'll
plan,
send it again.
yeah. And so they and Select were the two carriers that,
So they've participated in those, the meetings, what's the, Health Systems Reform Task Force meetings, they've participated.
No, I mean, I've seen their name, but I thought it was just their HSA administration.
they have the same colors. Like the logo looks just like the Health Equity logo, and it's like purple, right? I mean, so,
Their
Well,
website,
easily
one
can-
page.
I suggested
no
maybe we should
contact
reach out to them and see if they.
Yeah, and they might be interested at this point.
You know, if we're going to be an association, we should be an inclusive to some extent, an inclusive association.
We should be inclusive unless it's somebody that we don't
Unless
want.
they're providers, unless it's a provider.
Unless they dominate the market,
Yeah.
maybe not.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but one of my concerns is that we've been successful in bringing in companies like United. We want to make sure that you feel like you can be candid with us, whether or not we're providing value and that we're doing things that will keep you engaged. So I hope that you feel like that's an option and that you know how to communicate that to us if we stray from that.
Yeah, no, you guys have been great, and I have Ellie's number, I texted her this morning.
Where are you based out of?
Las Vegas.
Well, we hope. I just want to confirm what Doug has said, and that's that if there's any time that we're not meeting your needs, we need to hear about that, because that's what we exist for. I mean, our only purpose of existing is to facilitate your needs and articulate those needs. The only time that there might be an impediment to that objective is when we have a situation where we're divided as an organization, such as the Guaranteed Association. But even then, I think we can do some positive things by standing up and saying we need a Guarantee Association. I mean, that legislation being divided is going to gonna be interesting to see what happens there. And I think that we probably will get that off the House floor, but the question is whether we get it off the Senate floor. That's the question. I mean, I think Dunnigan can pull it off the House floor, but with us not being in one accord, and I don't know how you feel, Steve, on this. I'd like your observations because you're closer to Ellie than I am, but I think that they're doing the politically correct thing by saying they want to be included, but privately, I don't think the company wants to be included.
5.5 years is a long time to change their mind.
Okay, so
In other words, it gives them plenty of time to run a bill to reverse this.
yeah,
That's interesting. 5.5 years is a really long time.
long time. A long.
Because it's not 2023. It's July 2023.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
It'll be
We'll
that. I mean, it's almost the second Oprah term by then, right? I mean, that's a long.
Put that in the minutes right there. He knows us all love
Yeah.
if it's not the second time to vote for it. All right, Kelly, let's turn to your report.
Okay, well, our finances, we're in good shape financially. You can see the financial sheet that we sent out as of.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I just was looking at this morning, and I'm fine with the transactions. Was able to reconcile those, and then other than the questions we talked about.
You ever can get John to pay us?
No, we paid. What do you mean? He just got to cash the check.
Yeah, we just gotta, it's already.
It's just doing business by check that really throws him.
Yeah, you try to move something from Chase to City, and it takes 3 or 4 weeks for the banks to know how to transfer money.
He had paid on time, and when I looked at the numbers, as I looked at the numbers, I'd set the check where I set the check.
The truth is out.
And I picked the check up, because I picked the check up and put it in the check that I've already handled, and by mistake, because most of the checks I can take a picture of, but I can't do that for you, Iowa. So I knew you'd sent the check in, so I went back and found it.
So in
I
terms of,
apologize, John, for the maligning comment.
No, you're fine.
Excuse me, Aaron.
no, it's fine. So is it April then that we will be sent an invoice? Okay, we should plan on that then.
Right.
Okay.
So the dues we set the dues a year in advance. We'll set the dues for the next fiscal year in the April meeting, but you can plan on your dues being $4,500. Okay, and that invoice will go out sometime in middle part of March. $4,500. But that's already been set for next year. And then we'll discuss when Steve's term starts. One of the first official things we do is determine whether or not we're going to set the dues the next year at the same level, or we're going to tweak those dues at all. So, and that's in his term, so his Oprah term. So no questions on finances. We look good. At anytime you have a question on finance or you want some additional breakdown on any of these areas, I'm happy to give you that. Who the check went to, what it was spent for. We have all that. We'll be filing our taxes immediately, and so that's a process. We don't pay any taxes, so we'll be filing our taxes, and so.
Except we used to pay for extensions.
Yeah, when we had extensions, because we had paid auditors that paid accountants that couldn't get it in time. They paid those costs, but they paid them. We forced them to pay them, but then we also left their employment, or we fired them. I guess is a better way to say it. Our legislative meeting starts at 1:26. That's not this Friday, but a week from this Friday. It will be at Equitable. You want to give your address to Aaron?
Yeah, I'll give.
And what time do we plan to start?
12:15 is normally when we start. That gives us about 15 minutes to get off the hill. Sometimes we started as late as 12:30, so we've kind of waited till we had a pretty good group, and so it's not.
Almost everybody's here by quarter after.
Yeah, almost, but sometimes we've waited because we haven't had everybody there.
There will be a call-in option.
Yes, as we've done in the past. Now, one of the things, because we're using the Zoom account for this, one of the things I'm able to do behind it's the teleconference line. One of the things I'm able to do is, if you go online, underneath behind the wall, the password is Doug 2017. Doug 2017. Always the president's name when they start the
Capital D, right?
Capital D, and then lowercase OUG 2017. When you go there, because I have this option, you can listen to this if you want. You know, I don't have the recording is there. Okay.
Listen
But
to
the recording, or you could go to the minutes.
of this meeting.
We're talking the tracking list.
What are we
Recorded
talking?
too.
Every
Well,
meeting is recorded.
not this meeting, just our Uhiah meeting.
Okay.
I did it one time. If you don't want that recorded, I mean, if you don't want me to keep that, I'll just eliminate it. That's up to you.
The legislative meetings?
Yes, I'm talking about legislative meetings. We could put the legislative meetings up, so if somebody missed it and wanted to, we could do that.
Kelly, I don't think I'll ever do that, but why not this meeting with the department?
We could. I'm just saying, some of the comments that we make here, now, you're behind a password protected area, but I'm not at all confident that some hacker that can break into the U.S. encryption, U.S. government encryption, could break into our encryption,
If the
okay?
Russians care more than IHC, then so be it.
But I'm happy to.
You mean I wasn't supposed to be tweeting this meeting every 5 seconds the whole entire time?
Yeah. So whatever you want. I just thought I just experimented with it because we're recording it, and I thought, well, I can post this up online, and then people, if they wanted to ever go back in and check it, or if they ever had any questions. Michael's minutes are like recording anyway, but whatever you want.
They're seconds, as Dave says. That's right.
Yeah.
Michael recording seconds. Maybe, one option is to leave it up for, I don't know, if you're talking legislative session, leave it up for a week.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
and then override it.
And they want to listen.
And that way it gives you, if you've missed that one, you go back and listen, but otherwise, once the next one's done,
Don't archive it.
don't archive it, just put the next one.
You got it.
Even with these meetings here, maybe the same thing.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay?
And you're all aware that Kelly does a great job making this tracking list interactive. You can go back and listen to floor debate, other items very quickly from the tracking list.
You don't see that yet. Let's just go to the tracking list since Doug's brought it up. And so once you receive this, you're in your browser, you simply click on 19. When 19 comes up, we have a great legislative website through the state of Utah. You'll immediately see the sponsor. If you go to the sponsor's picture and you click that on, you can see anything you want to know about the sponsor, as far as what they publish. Once you click on 19, you can go and see everything that's in the legislation. So you will see the legislation. And then if you click on latest status, you can see where the bill is. Now, one of the things I recommend, especially for you that really diligently follow the legislative session, is that there's a tracking list option. I love the tracking list option. If you'll put in House Bill 19 in that, you can have notifications sent to you when the bill is appearing before a committee, where it's at, when it's changed. You can have all that's done. So set up your own tracking list on your your computer. Works off the computer, so if you set it up on your cell phone, your tracking list won't appear when you go to your desktop. So whatever.
It's linked to the particular registration of whatever device you set it up on.
Yeah.
So if you've got a laptop, you've got a phone, you've got a desktop, it doesn't move from those platforms.
Those platforms. Very well said, Doug. It's great. I just love it. So again, that's
Don't overdo it though.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's. But we'll continue when this comes out. Once we get the floor debate on that in the latest update, you'll see we'll put a list there so you can click so you can hear the floor debate. We've done that in the past, okay? Then as far as your highest position, when there's brackets around this is my recommendation. So for instance, take 163. I put support 163. That's based on my initial assessment that we want to stick it to the drug company. Okay? But once you look at that bill, you may say, as we heard today, hey, there's a lot of audit requirements there. We're not in support of that. So then we might want to change that to support concept. But we also might want to go back to the sponsor and say, look, we can't support that with all these auditing requirements. Let's eliminate the auditing requirements. We like the concept, but we've got to and that's what we'll do on our Friday meetings. In our Friday meetings, what you'll do is you'll look over the legislation and then you'll give me instructions and Steve and what you want us to do as far as making the bill more palatable. So or to try to kill the bill. So these are the bills that I have right now. In addition, step therapy, which isn't listed here, it's confidential, I've been watching that. Hutchinson, when we met with Hutchinson, and Sunshine, I don't know if you know this, but when we met with Hutchinson, and I texted him.
Ian Hutchins.
Hutchins, excuse me, yeah. Hutchins, when we talked to Eric Hutchins, he indicated that he's still considering that. We heard that from the step therapy people. And then when I text him, and because Steve tipped me off that there were still some rumors out there.
You mean that he told us he was not going to be running it?
Right.
And then, yeah.
And then I said, well, I want to confirm this. And then he said, no, maybe we are running it.
Yeah.
And so
he's waffling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I sat down with him, me and Eliana, and he point blank said he would not be running the bill. So, I don't know what you want to call that, but he's running the bill.
Politics is what I want to call it.
It'll be the first time for Hutchins to change his position.
Yeah.
And but it's filed confidential. I just checked the website. There's nothing out there under his name right now. So it's filed confidential.
One more non-public bill file to add is Lincoln Fillmore. Brian King is getting him to run a discretionary clause bill. I don't know if that'll actually see the light of day, but
A little more context, Steve, discretion.
it would ban discretionary clauses in insurance contracts. Yeah.
So Kelly, I'd ask you to remove your bracketed positions before this ever sees the light of day, and wait for us to actually take a position before this becomes public.
Okay, I'll do that.
My general rule is if Norm Thurston is for something, I'm against it. And HB 19 is no exception.
Okay, so here's a couple other bills that the credit scoring legislation the commissioners talked about, sponsored by Ray, is House Bill 90. I'll add that in just so we can kind of monitor it. It might not have any impact on us, but it's HB 90. The department's bill's HB 39. Dunnigan's a sponsor of that legislation. The workers' compensation bill by Maine is HB 14. So those bills will all be added. Are there any other bills that you want added to this initial? We'll monitor this on a daily basis. we monitor on a daily basis to see as these bills that are currently out there that are down below that list gets longer and longer. But these are the bills that are open files on, that we know they're out there.
Right now, I'm not aware of any committee bills that have moved expeditiously, so we couldn't wait until next Friday to get serious about bringing to that meeting bills we'd like to have added, positions we'd like to recommend. Steve, if you learn of anything that's moving quickly, you'll let us know through text.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think we can leave everything pending until a week from Friday.
Okay, that's my report.
Appreciate Michael supporting our culinary needs at our Friday meetings. They're always appreciated.
Problem child request.
Now, remember this year,
Vegetarian option.
If it doesn't swim, you don't want to eat it.
I'll eat it if it swims, but if it ever walks, I have a hard time.
remember this year, we're picking up the lunch costs.
What? What do you mean,
UHI is picking up the lunch.
Not without an assessment?
Without an assessment.
I think we talked about that explicitly about 6 months ago, going back to the previous position, and not dinging the committees for that, or the companies for that.
And I think our financial position looks pretty good, right?
It's nice to see that, yeah, we're as strong as we are.
Okay, well, again, Steve, we appreciate you sharing your expertise with UHI. It's a very valuable.
Happy to do it.
We have to pay big bucks to have you and Kelly collaborate on legislative matters if we were out in the open market.
Steve has been a wonderful addition to the UHI family, and he's heavily involved, and we speak a lot.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time talking back and forth, but I sure appreciate his insights.
Yeah, I saw your article in the Bar Journal.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we submitted it under a couple of legislators' names, and that's how we were supposed to do it. And then it did not get published that way. So, because in the past we've used Todd Weiler, because he chairs the Judiciary Committee, to kind of stroke his, but there was a mix-up at the bar. So.
Can't imagine how that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here in person. We hope we'll see you often in the next couple of months.
Be on the phone. I'll try and be here too. Yeah.
Like I said, I hope you don't feel compelled to be here
I'm in good
against your
hands,
will.
I hope, so, yeah.
How many sessions do you have? Because Nevada's off, right?
It's off, we're very busy with other things.
Yeah.
Idaho's in.
Yeah.
And Alaska just went in yesterday.
Oh.
What are your states?
I have 4 states, so here, Nevada, Idaho, and Alaska.
How long is Idaho?
They're trying to get out of there sooner. They don't have like a set time, but usually a couple months.
A couple of
They do a
months.
target,
So they'll
though.
have a
Target like
date.
March. usually.
Yeah.
And then
March.
what
They have,
about?
primary elections in May, so, they need to get back home.
Yeah, so that'll help. What about,
Take executive orders by the governor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys aren't on
That
the
way to
exchange
go.
there, though.
No, we're
Yeah.
not.
what about Alaska? Their days.
They always have special sessions, so it's really hard
Yeah.
to follow them. They went
yeah.
into June last year.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Nevada, they have, 120 days
120
session every other year, but when I did some lobbying over there, they were in their 180th day. And I said to them, this is like 15, 20 years ago. So I said to them, well, you get paid for 120 days. You're in like your 180th day. Who's paying for your hotel rooms? Who's paying for your meals? Who's doing that? The lobbyists. I came back and told Bob Bernick, I said, look, you are beating the hell out of our legislators for a $10 lunch or a $5 lunch. Why don't you go check and see what they're doing in Nevada?
I'll tell you, times have changed. I can't even buy a cup of coffee now. So, yeah, very different than.
Yeah. A tab bill for one night of liquor over there that I saw from a lobbyist was $950.
Oh, I've only heard.
$950. Well, I being a Mormon boy, $150.
Other item.
Go to Montana, you wanna see some liquor flow, oh, man.
Really?
And they
With driving.
pour stiff drinks up there. I mean, they do the old, here's the shot glass, and then they kinda start talking to you while they're filling up the shot glass, and
They hand you the 6-shooter across the bar, right?
You can get messed up real quick up there.
I think we're deteriorating.
Sunshine falling.
I mean, I love that state, don't get me wrong.
Other items, otherwise I'll adjourn and look forward to seeing you a week Friday. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
Speaking of CLE, I've got a.
Are you going to that?
I am. Do you wanna go?
Yeah, because I am.
Do you wanna go to the CLE? Or-
Yeah, to the CLE.
Okay.
Yeah, I, after you said something,
Yeah.
I had the CLE.
Science thing.
Do them hang out.
Was on